So when I first started researching the book, you know, the process of a book is you get an idea, and the idea came when I saw an academic paper in which the word consequential stranger was in the title. And because of my experience as in Northampton, having getting to know people, the term just, I loved it. I loved that it was this oxymoronic term. Well, how can somebody be a stranger and be consequential? Well, the fact is they're not strangers. They're people that we know a little bit about. They're people that we connect with in a very narrow way. So it might be somebody you know from the health club, or somebody you know from school. Your students are all consequential strangers. So when I started researching the book, I would start asking people, because I honestly didn't quite know where I was going to take it in the book. And so I would ask people, I'd say, here's the concept, and I'd explain to them what a consequential stranger was. Does this resonate with you? Is there anybody that you can think of? Who are your consequential strangers? And I can't tell you. What do you think the most common answer was? Yeah, teacher, exactly. One woman, for example, Doreen, said to me, in high school, her basketball coach, who also was her math teacher, she had never had any intention of going to college because no one in her family had. And her basketball coach said, you can get a scholarship, you can switch out of the vocational track, go to the academic track. And she did, and guess what she is today? A teacher. And I heard story after story of that when I would say, who are your consequential strangers? Another way it would come up was I would talk about, and I write about this in the book, your social convoy. Now, it's really another way of saying your personal network, but I love the image of the social convoy, because if you imagine yourself kind of trucking down the road of life, and the cars around you are your loved ones, of course, but the greater number of vehicles are your consequential strangers, because it's way more time, if you think of your own lives. How much time do you spend with your spouses or your children or your parents or your in-laws, although your in-laws might be your consequential strangers, I'm not quite sure. But how much time do you spend with them compared to the people on the faculty or your students? Most of the time is spent in commuting, in on the job, in extracurricular activities, going to the gym, playing golf. So these consequential strangers are really, really a huge part of our social convoy. So one young man said to me, he grew up in a very rough neighborhood of San Jose, and he said to me, he talked about his siblings. He had 4 siblings and his parents, and he said his parents were they were immigrants, and they kept sort of pushing him towards different activities. But who were the most important people? He talked about his math teacher. No, not his math. It was his swimming teacher who taught him about photography. And his English teacher, who was also the drama coach and opened his eyes to the world of literature. And the man who was in charge of the choir taught him about jazz and about the history of music. And this young man, Alex, he's about in his 30s today. He's a Hollywood producer. And what does he do with his time? He coaches Little League, and he goes into prisons, and he teaches filmmaking to young offenders, hopefully getting them to tell their story. So this is why I'm not kidding when I say I'm really excited to be here, because I know you people get it. What I want you to see, and what I hope, and so far people who have read the book tell me this, is that I want you to start seeing your life as not as a series of events, but as a cavalcade of people. Because if you think about anything, any decisions you've made, any crossroads that you've come to in your life, I think you'll agree that it was a person, not necessarily a consequential stranger, although very often it is, but it was a person, not a thing. And so my talk today is all about the connection, and I loved to the slogan of today is connecting today. It is all about connection, and especially in this world that we're all moving in so quickly, and I mean, technology is moving so fast, I don't need to tell you this. But I recently read that researchers have realized that there's a difference. There's already a digital divide between kids who were born in 1980 and kids born 10 years later. And as I say, I don't have to tell you guys how fast technology is going. But that technology is affecting our relationships. So what I want to talk to you today, I've kind of pulled out 3 ideas from the book that I think directly relate to what goes on in the classroom. I want to take a lot of questions later, so that's why I asked for the timer, because I'm trying to keep myself a little bit short. And hopefully you'll ask me some questions, either based on what I'm telling you or not. Anyway, the first idea that I want to share with you is this notion of paying attention to the little moments of connection in your life. And these are often throwaway moments. I remember when I was student teaching, I had a great, she was one of these real old pros who had been doing it for years, and she just felt so comfortable. And one of the first things she said to me was, "You can't have fireworks every day." And I thought she meant, don't worry if you don't knock them dead. But I realized that she actually already knew, and I realized this only recently, she already knew what social scientists are really starting to report in the literature, that life is not lived in big moments. I mean, you know, we all watch TV, the Disease of the Week movie or any movie, and you see all those big moments, you know. But that's not what life is about. I mean, yes, we've had big moments. You have tragedies, you have exciting, wonderful things, but the bulk of life is lived in little moments of connection.